Mary Ann Holmes was born in London in 1802. She was the eldest of at least 4 children born to Robert and Sarah. In 1820, at age 18, Mary Ann made a life-changing decision when she chose to attend a performance of King Lear at Covent Garden Theatre. Mary Ann was instantly starstruck by the leading man, Junius Brutus Booth, age 24. Mary Ann and Junius met that night after the show, and he was smitten instantly. Junius began wooing the young Mary Ann, despite his being married already and having a young son at home. Just 4 months later, Mary Ann and Junius left England together. She didn't even tell her parents she was leaving, and he abandoned his wife and son. The couple made their way to the U.S., and Junius would immediately begin a far more successful stage career than he had in London. They purchased a farm in Maryland and lived in a log cabin. Mary Ann gave birth to 10 children between 1821 and 1840, as Junius traveled and performed. Although Junius and Mary Ann had a relatively happy relationship, they dealt with a lot of hardship and pain as well. One son, Frederick, died at only a year old. In 1833, they lost 3 children to cholera. In 1836, as the family was visiting London, another son died from smallpox. Junius also suffered from alcoholism, which had, of course, a negative impact on his family. One of their sons, Edwin, said he never had a childhood, as Mary Ann assigned him to travel with Junius, to look after him and make sure he didn't drink away all his earnings. Also, Junius's first and still only legal wife, Adelaide, had moved to Baltimore so she could finally petition for a divorce. She followed Mary Ann and her children around, screaming about the illegitimacy of the children to anyone who would listen. Junius had sent money to Adelaide to support her and their son for 20 years after leaving with Mary Ann, but by then he had stopped and completely abandoned them. Despite calling herself Mrs. Booth for 30 years, it wasn't until 1851 that Mary Ann and Junius were officially married. In 1852, Junius was traveling by steamboat from New Orleans to Cincinnati and developed a severe fever, likely from drinking contaminated river water. No doctor was aboard the boat to treat him, and Junius died. Mary Ann traveled alone to Cincinnati to bring his body back to Baltimore. But the greatest tragedy of Mary Ann's life would occur years later, in 1865. The Civil War deeply divided her family, especially her sons. One son was vehemently anti-Union. On April 14, 1865, in an act that shocked the world, Mary Ann's son, John Wilkes Booth, assassinated President Abraham Lincoln. This act devastated Mary Ann. Mary Ann lived for over 30 years after Junius died. She buried 6 of her children. Mary Ann died in 1885 at age 83. Thank you for taking a few moments to learn about Mary Ann with me today.